Good afternoon, Shindo here. Well, looking at the news from the Philippines, aside from the fact that just a few days ago, this Filipino leader, I know I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, Duterte. This Filipino leader, Duterte, has said, just like a week ago, he called the President of the United States a son of a bitch, and then the president wouldn't go see him. A lot of people don't know the history of the Philippines when it comes to the United States. In 1898, the United States fought a war against the Spanish in order to gain Cuba and Puerto Rico and a number of other places. It was an entirely done for imperialist reasons. There was even an anti-imperialist society that stemmed from this war. So the United States openly admitted back then, because we weren't full of you-know-what, back then when they still called the Department of War, what we now call the Department of Defense. Anyway, the Philippines were one of the groups of islands, country that was taken also for the Spanish-American War by the United States. The United States occupied the Philippines for a very long time. Philippines were basically just a, charter state or whatever you want to call it, a satellite state of the United States of America for a very long time. The Filipinos never really took to the Americans being over them. Obviously, the Spanish were over them at one point, and then the United States took the Philippines after winning the Spanish and American War. That was in 1898. The United States also took Hawaii, by the way. Spain had nothing to do with Hawaii, but that's another subject altogether. We live in an imperialist country, folks. I know they don't teach you this stuff in school, but it's true. Okay, back to the Philippines. Duterte says U.S. Special Forces must leave the southern Philippines. American forces at risk of kidnapping or death, Duterte says. Philippines in state of, quote, lawlessness after Mindanao bombing. Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte said U.S. troops must leave the southern island of Mindanao, saying that their presence would worsen the situation in the Muslim-majority area long riven by insurgency and terrorism. So, folks, not only is he calling our president a son of a bitch, and our president does virtually nothing, now the Filipinos are telling them to you Americans to get the hell out of our country, okay? The Philippines will review its policy of allowing American forces to combat terrorist groups in Mindanao, Duterte said Monday in a speech in Manila. As many as 1,300 U.S. Special Forces troops have been present on the island since 2002. Quote, these special forces, they have to go, Duterte said. They have to. In Mindanao, there are many white men there, unquote. Quote, I just couldn't say it before out of respect, unquote, he added. Quote, I don't want a rift with America, but they have to go, unquote. Duterte's comment follows a spat with President Barack Obama that prompted the U.S. leader to cancel a meeting last week in the sidelines of a summit in Laos. In the past few weeks, Duterte has lashed out at the U.S. for criticizing his war on drugs that has led to thousands of extrajudicial killings and denounced military killings that took place over a century ago when the Philippines was an American colony. U.S. troops. Prior to Duterte's election this year, U.S.-Philippine relations had been strengthening. The Supreme Court in January upheld the validity of Defense Cooperation Pact They gave the U.S. military the right to increase troops deployed to the Philippines for war games, as well as bringing equipment into military areas, including Subic Bay, the former site of the U.S. naval facility. The U.S. has also been a strong supporter of the Philippines as it pushes back against China's assertiveness in the disputed South China Sea. So you see why I'm doing this after the one I did this morning. Manila's military forces are dwarfed by China's Navy and Coast Guard. Quote, "This could just be fallout from the Laos brouhaha," unquote, said Richard Bitzler, who studied the military as a senior fellow as the South Rajam School of International Studies in Singapore. Quote, "It is interesting that he hasn't mentioned the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. Maybe he wants the U.S. to say it really values its relationship with the Philippines," unquote. Duterte puts the entire country under a so-called state of, quote, lawlessness following a bombing in his home city of Davao on Mindanao. I'm sorry about this pronunciation, folks. At the start of the month, the measure allows him to use the military to assist the police to fight crimes and violence. Duterte says Monday the presence of U.S. forces could inflame the situation and suggest that they may kidnap targets or killed by local terrorist group. The U.S. hadn't apologized for alleged atrocities committed by Americans on the Filipinos in the 1900s, Duterte said, also criticizing the U.S. over its role in conflicts in Iraq, Syria, and Vietnam. American officials are, quote, hypocrites, unquote, for funding anti-drug efforts while, jumping all over the page here. American officials are hypocrites for funding anti-drug efforts while calling him out for supposed human rights violations, he said in the same speech. Wow. Americans are hypocrites. Wow. Gee. Well, folks, here we go again with people in this, in this area around China, in the Orient, that's what they used to call it, who are not getting along very well with the United States. Does it just seem like to me that nobody really likes the United States anymore? The thing is, folks, nobody really liked us for years and years and years. Now that we have a very weak president, a very weak leader who's on the way out, they want to take a few shots at America before he goes. But as I was saying earlier today, what the major concern here is if these people don't get anything from the United States, who are they going to turn to? Not just the Filipinos, but everybody in the region, including even perhaps Japan. Eventually, even perhaps Japan. Yes, I know, that's a long, long shot. But who are they going to turn to? They're going to turn to China. They're going to turn to Russia. Folks, this is serious stuff. It's shrug it off. It's no big deal. It's just the piddling little Philippines. Who cares, right? Well, this is all part of a greater whole that's going on here. And it's all leading us to, you know where? World War III. It's all going to build up to World War III, and then it's going to back down. When the war finally happens a few years from now, it's going to be the end. It's going to be that bad. This is Shindo. You have a good day.